Hey guys, this is Dan from the Corporate Thief Beats. Today's episode of the Mixtape Marketing Podcast is episode 12. I've got a very special guest for us today. It's Shawn Folk from Payusnomind. He's a music blogger and talks about music marketing, and I'm sure he's going to give us great info today. Shawn, thanks for coming on the interview. And if you give a brief introduction to our audience on what you do online and how you help artists.
Hey man. Yeah, man. As you stated, I have the blog Payusnomind, that just provides like real good information for artists. Critical analysis, a lot of the tools and ways that people can, bring more people to their music and places that they can upload their music, and basically how to get the most out of what they're doing online. So everything that I do kind of revolves around that, from the videos to blogs, to even just like holding conversations with people, consultations or whatever have you, or, just providing people with just a system, a system to get the most out of what it is they're doing, get a return on investment, an investment of time and an investment of money, because everybody, we all artists and we do it because, we love to do it, but also you want to get something out of it too, So that's pretty much my deal,
Yeah, no problem. I've been watching your videos on YouTube, and for those of you that's listening at home, Shawn has got a great YouTube channel with great videos on it, and he talks about he breaks stuff down really well. Shawn, you talk a lot about streaming. Maybe you can talk about how streaming. Do you think is a good medium for artists? Is it worth the time when you're not that famous yet, or is it only for like big artists, or should we think about streaming now so it might help us in the future?
I mean, the bottom line is this, dog. It's like they say success is when opportunity meets preparedness, right? So it's like you want to prepare yourself to be successful. You want to prepare yourself for when an opportunity presents itself for you to be successful. So when you upload songs, right, to all of these different sites and you put it out there on YouTube and all these different things, right? If the song, let's say it takes off overnight and everybody starts streaming it and everybody starts playing it and you get all these plays, or it gets featured on some blog and all of these plays it gets, if your music isn't in the right place where people can find it when they want it, then you kind of like fade to black and you disappear. So if people listen to music on SoundCloud, on Spotify, and they go to Spotify and you're not there, you lose those people. If people listen to music on audio and you're not there, you lose those people. Whatever streaming platform or Xbox or whatever people use to check out music and to store music or to just like to get their music, if you're not in the place where they are, you're gonna lose those people. So it's important to be there. And if you put your music out and your music isn't there and you're trying to work from behind, and you get popular, and then you're like, oh well, damn, all these people are listening to my music and only maybe they're listening to it on Spotify. Let me get it on Spotify now. You got about 3 weeks it's gonna take you to get your music in Spotify. And how many, you don't know how much money you might lose in those 3 weeks, and how the way the music works online now, where so many releases so fast and there's so much competition, it's like that 3 weeks you might become afterthought after that, and they might have moved on to something new. So it's like all of those streams you lost, and all of that revenue you lost. And now we're in a realm with music and artists where it's not so much record sales that's sustaining you, it's popularity. And the way that you gain popularity and the way that you like basically hold a place in people's minds is retention, basically providing people a opportunity to become familiar with you and to become become like a part of them almost, where every day they have access to your music, and they basically start to recognize your music and recognize your sound and recognize your name, and you become like something normal, like how you hear Jay-Z on the radio all of the time. Even if you're not into him, you know of him. It's like it's a certain comfort level that you gain with him. It's a certain perception that the mind has of him. So when he comes out with something and he wears a certain item of clothing, it gets attention. When he does certain things, it gets attention. So it's like you want, people to develop that kind of relationship with you, and you're only going to get that if you provide people with a way of accessing your music easily and consistently. Because as an unsigned artist and indie artist, you don't have the advantage of radio. You don't have TV where you can keep pumping your music to people and pushing it to them. So you gotta provide as many ways for like a different level of access. Level of
sorry, I'm interrupting you there. Sorry, but I see what you're saying. But you also said in your video that, okay, it's great that we have all these services out there. We have all these sites and we have like streaming and all this kind of stuff. But we still, maybe it's time that instead of just continually making mixtape, like people are talking about creating a mixtape nearly every week, maybe we should stop and think, we have to make a plan and see how we can monetize this mixtape. And okay, maybe if we can't just sell it, maybe we can sell the physical copies. Maybe we can sell stuff all around the mixtape. You were talking about like just like having too much like speed leads to inefficiency. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, speed does lead to inefficiency because people just are moving so fast that they're not doing things right. Everybody, it's like, we have all of these systems, right, where people can make a record in their house, and upload it to SoundCloud, and it just results in just a ton of music out there. And it kind of like negatively impacts everybody because a lot of it isn't of a certain artistic quality, so that just leads to everybody kind of like writing off that whole section of like unsigned artists and underground artists, and they say, hey, I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. So it's like you also have to recognize that music is art, but it's a art-based business, so it's like just like how a company would have a business plan, you need to have a business plan with your music. You have to have a map. You got to know, okay, cool, well, this project is about this, and this is what it's speaking to, and this is who it's speaking to, and this is who I need to reach, and kind of be a bit more strategic in the way that you plan to do what it is that you're gonna do. Because it's like, in particular, like again, I want to emphasize that in this music marketing arena that we have now in this digital space, there's so much competition. There's so much music out there, right? And people really aren't responding to just the music in itself. With all of these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, all of these things, they're social platforms, and social platforms revolve around discussion. So things that's not discussion based, or art and content in general that doesn't generate discussion, doesn't do too well. So when you create art, it's not just, hey, here's a song that I made that I felt like making, and I'm going to put it up and hopefully people like it. Yeah, you do that if that's your thing. But if you're doing it and you're doing it from the standpoint of, hey, you're trying to make a career and you're trying to make money and stuff, you kind of got to rewire yourself into thinking, okay, well, what about this is going to drive people into talking? You know what I'm saying? How can I release this in a manner that's going to result in discussion? So you kind of got to analyze, all right, well, does my song connect to anything that's going on in society right now? Any of these hot topics that people are discussing, does my song fit into any of those things? Does my song fit into anything that's going on? Any of these niche audiences, anything that people are rocking with currently online, does my song fit into any of that? And then kind of like maybe if it does, construct a marketing strategy and conduct like content built around that, where you might write a blog post about what inspired the song and talk about all of these different things that are going on within the society in a matter of and connection with the current affairs, and connect that to your song, where you can headline it like, let's say Beyonce falls at a concert or something, and you want to talk about, you got a song about, being embarrassed, on stage or something like that. And then you say, okay, cool. Well, Beyonce, you would create an article and you would title that article, Beyonce falls on stage, and how something about your personal experience. And you would write about how you were embarrassed on stage. And you know what I'm saying? Like, connect all those things and then put a link to your song. And this is why I wrote this song. And now it's like, the search people go to Google and they Google Beyonce falls off stage. Your article comes up in that search string. People go there, they read the article, they be like, oh, this guy's down to earth. Like, oh, I like what he has to say about this. They share it with other people because now you become a mouthpiece for them and a way for them to express how they feel about a certain thing, and they'll share that article, and with that article, they'll share your music. And, so it's just a different way of marketing and advertising your content through the content,
Yes, I know what you're saying. I remember interviewing alias before, and he says, how do you make music and promote music when you can't give it away for free all the time? And I just thought that was interesting. Like, you have to do everything around, you have to build all this content, even if you make that article like you suggested, which I think is a good idea. And I think every artist should be making blogs about songs that they create. I don't understand why you don't, because it's hard to just go on social media with just one piece of content. Let's say the song is the piece of content. It's hard for us to kind of keep promoting the song with just the song. Do you know what I mean? I think there's other ways. You always see like creating mini documentaries or something, like them in the studio, interviewing everyone around them. Do you know, it's like sometimes you might ever actually hear the artist singing the whole song. It might be just all about the song, and then the song comes out. It's like that's your main point in that, is just building content around the song to help create discussion. I like the way you said that, because I've noticed in an article that a lot of people are moving away from the fan page recently and starting their own Facebook groups, because what you just said, it's all about discussion. It's like the song itself, and it needs something else around it to create that discussion. And people are making Facebook groups instead of Facebook pages now, because there's easier to engage with people in Facebook groups. I just thought that was a valid point. But I love what you brought up, though, about the discussion and how artists should be creating points on how, even with blogs, and creating some reason why they wrote a song. I like that. That's really clever, man. But I just wanted to talk about Facebook, and you said you do a lot on Facebook as well. And you talk about how do you actually, you said it's funny how you broke your Facebook page. That's one of your video pages. And maybe you could talk about what you said in that video. I just thought that's a really clever line, though. I have to admit, no, that's really clever. You broke it. So I'm the artist. How did I break my Facebook page?
Yeah, I mean, on Facebook, right? You know that invite button that they have on there? Like when you go to your page, they have the invite button, and they have a list of all of your friends and family from your profile page. And they say, hey, invite these guys to like your page. And you say, hey, well, I don't want my page likes to sit at 0. So you go and you invite all of these people just so your likes number increase. And you say, okay, now you have 500 people who liked your page now. And they're all pretty much people from your profile page. Their family, their friends, they're all of those things. But family, friends, associates, people you work with, they know you. They care about you, and they want to see you succeed, but they're not particularly into your music. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have a lot of them that don't even know you do music, and Facebook is different from Twitter in the sense of Twitter. When you tweet something, it just goes to everybody's timeline. Facebook has an algorithm, and the algorithm is really strict when it regulates pages, so on Facebook, when you put up a post, they don't send that post to everybody that like your page. They drip it. They drip it to maybe 16%, 10% of the people who liked your page. And if there's people who are in that 10% group don't engage with it, meaning they don't like it, they don't share it, they don't comment on it, it's going to keep it hidden from everybody else that liked your page. So the more people that you have who aren't highly engaged with your page, the more likely it is that they're going to be the ones who are initially shown your post, which means they're not going to engage with it. And that means that it's going to get hit in front of people who actually care about it. So when you invite all of these people who aren't too engaged with what you're doing and aren't too interested in it, that's just going to result in you basically, like I said, if you have like 90%, if 90% of the people who liked your page are people who aren't highly engaged with your content, that's a 90% chance that the people who are initially shown that post aren't going to respond to it, which means the 10% of people who actually would aren't even going to see it, you know? So everybody who engaged in practices of inviting all of the people from their profile page to like their page, everybody that engaged in the practices of trying to force people to like their page, to listen to a song or to download a song, and went through all of these kind of like suspect means of gaining likes. Now they have likes, they have thousands and thousands of likes, but the people who like their page aren't highly interested in what it is that they're doing, and it's kicking their ass now, you know, because now it's like every time you put up a post now, it's getting sent to all of these people that don't care about it, and all of the people that do care about it don't even get it. So that's how everybody kind of broke their own Facebook page, by pretty much inviting and having a whole bunch of people who aren't into what they do like they page. They became more obsessed with the numbers than actually finding people who are into their music. You know, the music became second.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But let's say an artist has actually started using their Facebook in the right way. How do they get the right engagements, and how do they get the reach out of Facebook? And is it the only way to pay is to play? Like, really now, is it? Let's say you have a blog post about a song you wrote, or you have a video. What's a great strategy that you would use in getting some kind of engagement to it? Would you use other social networks to boost that post, or would you just pay to play? What would you do in that situation?
I mean, you kind of got to work with what you're dealing with. Like, because it's like you can, right? If you have people who are responding to your post, then everything kind of takes care of itself, and you can put up stuff and people will respond to it and they'll share it, and you'll be all right. If you don't, if you're putting up stuff and people aren't responding to it, and you don't have, you know, the network of supporters like that, then you kind of do have to pay for ads. Yeah. Facebook has it structured in that way, you know, where it's like, that's their motive in the first place. You know, it's kind of like, you know, they structured it in a way where it's kind of like, you know, like I said, again, you have to have either people who are highly interested in what you're doing, where they come in there to be like, all right, well, what is this guy putting up? And they're really into it. Or you kind of got to pay for ads and get it in front of those people. You know, now the whole thing is, how do you stop from continuously having to pay for ads, you know, and having to keep reinvesting in ads? And the way that you would do that is through like something that Facebook calls last actors, you know, where you want to promote, if you're going to like spend $5 or whatever to boost a post on Facebook, because I do it, but I only spend $5 at a time. But you do that and you promote to the people who like your page. You know, you promote to the people who like your page and try to promote and try to market through them. You know, because if you put up a post, right, last actors is when somebody engages with your page, like if they share, if they comment, you know, things like that, Facebook will guarantee that they see your next post. So everybody that engages with your page, the next time you post something, is going to show up in the top of their timeline. So that's what you're kind of trying to do when you boost the post. You're trying to reach the people who like your page, so they engage with it. So the next time you don't have to pay to reach them. And as you boost posts, more of your followers engage with your content, and you kind of can like tail yourself off of it. You know, the whole thing is you got to consistently post. You know, because if you don't consistently post, then you kind of like reset and start from ground one all over again. You know, like you post, you boost, people see it, they like, they share. You know, then you gain a reputation with those people. The next time you post, they see it. You ain't gotta try to pay to reach those people again. You know, and as you do it, more people, and then you can reach your list without having to pay to do it. You know,
excellent. I love those points about Facebook now, but I just want to kind of move on the thing, so I don't want to just all be about Facebook, the interview. But I noticed that you really like using SoundCloud, but you talk about using the pro services, and you say one of the best things with the pro services of SoundCloud is the analytics. Maybe you can go into a bit of discussion on why you like to use SoundCloud and the benefits of using their analytics within SoundCloud.
I mean, first off, SoundCloud is really good for the simple fact that they have a community. Like you have a lot of artists, who, they opt to use Bandcamp over SoundCloud. Where they basically distribute their music through Bandcamp widgets as opposed to SoundCloud widgets. And the thing that I tell people about the difference between Bandcamp and SoundCloud is that Bandcamp doesn't have a community. SoundCloud does. Where it's a community based around music, where music fans are there. So it's like you put up music there and people go there and they're building playlists and things like that. So it's a place where not only do you host music, but it's a place that your music can be discovered because people are there looking for music. They said that they wanted to make themselves the YouTube of music. And they pretty much are that. They are the YouTube of music, like how YouTube refers music to you and all this other stuff. They do that and they can help get you discovered. The analytics are important and really good, for the simple fact that they can tell you, who's listening to your music, because like I said, it's a community, so they can put faces and names and be like, all right, well, here's this user and here's how many times they've been streaming your song, and here's where your song been streamed the most, and here's the songs that have been streamed the most, and you can kind of like get an idea of whether a record sticks, So you might put out a song, right, and the song can get on 101 blogs, and you could have 100,000 people listen to that song only once. But if you don't have access to stats, all you see is 100,000 plays. So you say, oh shit, some people listen to my song 100,000 times. Like, oh, my song is popular. But you don't recognize the fact that they never came back to it. They listened to it once, they left it, they never came back, they never listened again. So that's kind of like saying that the song might not be so good, because if it was good, people will be coming back to it. They will want to hear it again and again and again and again. So it's like when you look at your statistics on SoundCloud and you can see, okay, cool, well, here I have this one song and people listen to it over 20 times. Like you have like individual listens, like 20 plays per user. It's like, oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? Even in the ability to be able to put together a show and say, okay, well, I got like 500 people that rock with me in Brooklyn. Maybe I should go and perform in Brooklyn, things like that, man. And just in regards of seeing, how people respond to stuff, for instance, right? I got songs on SoundCloud, songs that I promoted, that didn't perform too well. And then I look at songs that I haven't promoted at all, that I just threw up there on a whim. And those songs are moving around. They're circulating. People are listening to them. And you look and you say, oh, you check your stats and you say, wow, 10 people favorited this song. Oh, 10 people added this song to a playlist, and you see how it's moving through there. One person adds it to a playlist. Other people listen to that playlist and say, oh, this is hot. And then they like it and it circulates and it spreads, and that is one thing that's good about SoundCloud. And that's what's good about the statistics. Now, the reason why I was telling people in regards of whether a pro account is worth it or not, and why I said that it's not for most people, is because it's like it only matters when the numbers are big enough. Like when the numbers aren't really that big, you can't, it's a small sample size. The sample size is too small to really say, okay, cool, well, this is what it is, because it's like a lot of independent artists and a lot of underground artists, most of the people that they have connections to and that they know are personal friends and family. So it's like, without like reaching the mass population, you're kind of dealing with like inaccurate data, so to speak, because it's like your friend will come and they'll stream a song and you say, okay, cool, well, damn, look at people are really digging this song. They really like my song. And it's like, yay, you can say that, but that's your cousin. You know what I'm saying? Your cousin is your uncles and stuff like that. So it's like, you can't really be like, yo, I got a hit record. Look at how people are responding to the song. It's a hit. Like, yeah, it's a hit to family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You're trying to say that it helps you build that persona. The analytics help you build that persona. Because I'll actually give you an instance of where I'm always running test ads on AdWords and Facebook, and I noticed that using the analytics in Facebook, I noticed that a lot of people from 25 to 35 were clicking my ads compared to people that I was actually trying to target from 18 to 25. Without that, it's the same. I know that people more from 25 to 35 are interested in the content that I create rather than the 25, actually, sorry, what I actually meant to say is that more people actually opted into my newsletter. Other people from 18 to 25, actually more of them clicked my ads, but they didn't opt in. That's the data that I noticed, is that I got more conversions between 25 to 35, the age group, from than 18 to 25. Even though I got more clicks from 18 to 25, I got less people opting into my newsletter. And it's just that kind of data will go like, stop trying to target people that are not interested in your music or your content. And that's what we're trying to kind of say here, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much for the most part, man. I mean, because it's like with a lot of artists, man, you know, they kind of like have it locked in their head of going where most people are. Like, where are most people? Who are like, they see like how the young kids, you know, they spread all of this content and they're always on Facebook, so they want to get these young kids. But it's like, if that's not your core audience, if that's not the people who are gonna buy, if that's not the people who are gonna like stream, then it's like you're kind of like spinning your wheels trying to target them, you know, because they'll check it out, you know, they'll be like, okay, cool, they see it, they'll press play, but they're not going to be the ones who are going to become fans, you know. So it's like it's like that's the big thing with analytics, period. Facebook Insights, YouTube Insights, all of that stuff. Artists should be digging into that stuff and finding out who are the people who are most likely. It's not about just reaching people in general. It's people who are the most likely to love your music. Love your music. Because building a career in music is based on being able to get fans. And if you can't get fans, you're probably not going to be able to build a career without some level of popularity. You know what I'm saying? Some level of fame. You know, so if you can't achieve fame, you're going to need fans.
So on a note on SoundCloud, you said that you have top 3 ways of promoting your music on SoundCloud. It was like remixes and covers, it was groups, and getting involved in a community. Maybe you can just give a brief, because I like the discussion about SoundCloud. You talk a lot about SoundCloud in your videos, and I just like the information that you give us in your videos. So maybe you can talk about your top 3 ways of promoting on SoundCloud.
Yeah, I mean, remixes and covers speak to the SoundCloud search engine. Like I said, people go there looking for music, right? So it's like you see, okay, cool, well, their widgets are probably one of the most circulated online outside of YouTube. You know, like every blog you go to on Facebook, they're all over the place. So Beyonce puts out a new song, right? Bow Down. You go to Twitter, you go to Facebook, you see, oh, Beyonce song, Bow Down, SoundCloud. Everybody knows, okay, I saw that song on SoundCloud. So they go to SoundCloud, they run a search for that song. If you covered it and you did your own rendition of it, or you remixed it or something like that, when people run a search for that song, your version of it comes up in that search. So it helps you get discovered. People go there, they listen to your version of it, they like you, they maybe listen to more of your music, and you know, maybe you can convert them to a fan. So covers, remixes, all of those things help in that regard and helping you appear in the search engines, you know. And outside of remixes and covers is adding your song to groups, you know, where you can go and join all of these different groups on SoundCloud, these different communities where people are sharing music, you know, and you join and you send your music to those groups, and all of the people who are in those groups can hear your music. And that's a good way of getting discovered, you know. And it's not stuff that results in like an overflow. It's not like you're going to add a song to a group and you're going to get 1 billion plays overnight, you know what I'm saying, or anything like that. You know, things like that happen with covers because there's so many people searching for the original versions. But things like groups, it's small numbers of people, but those small numbers of people can drive you to bigger numbers of people. You know, they add it to playlists, they share it to their friends, and you know, it's like a gradual build. So it's like adding songs to groups, doing remixes and covers, you know, what else is there? There's adding songs to group, there's doing remixes and covers, there's just getting involved in the community, you know, becoming like commenting on other people's content and all of that stuff, like building a relationship, you know. So it's like, you just got to be really involved with it, man. You know, just really involved with it. If that's if SoundCloud is the platform that you're really trying to tackle, then you kind of got to understand it and know how it works and know how people find stuff on there and how people discover stuff on there, and kind of like target how you know people are going to be looking for stuff.
I just wanted to end on one more video that you talked about was digital distribution, and you have Okay, guys, if you're listening to this and we're talking about it, there's going to be links in the post and everything like to Shawn's videos. And I suggest you watch him because he's broken down the digital distribution very well. And there's a lovely little diagram. I'm going to take a screenshot of that diagram to show everyone because it's a really good way he broke it down. But what advice would you give to artists before they join a digital distribution site? Like you mentioned Reverb Nation, TuneCore, 1RPM, and CDBaby in your video. Before anyone goes on these sites, what's the best advice you could give them?
I mean, the best advice I could give them is to know what's important to them. Know what's important to you, in regards of knowing how you want to be paid, knowing when you want to be paid, knowing knowing how much you can afford, knowing being real with yourself in regards of sales expectations, because those are the things that's going to drive your decision. Like TuneCore, they charge you like, I think like $50, $60 annual fee, so it's like, a lot of artists, they might not make no money, off of their music in regards of sales. So it's like, if you're not going to make money like that, and it's kind of like you just putting it up there just in case, like I said, being prepared for opportunities, so it's like just in case somebody want to buy it, it's there for them to buy, and you're working from that kind of perspective, then it's like you don't want to be paying $50 or $60 a year when you're not even making $50 or $60 a year per release, so it's like, you got to make that per release. So it's like you don't want to deal with TuneCore if that's your situation and you're not making back that money that you're spending per year on releases, and if you're in a situation where, like I said, again, it's a matter of what you can afford. It's like something like CDBaby, right? CDBaby is really good, but their policies have changed over the years where they no longer supply you with a free UPC barcode. So it's like they charge $60 for digital distribution, but on top of the $60 that they charge you $20 for a UPC barcode because they make it a requirement for you to have a UPC barcode in order to digitally distribute your material. So that boosts that fee up to $80. And so it's CDBaby's digital distribution fee is really $80, So it's like you kind of got to understand that and look at that. And you got to look at, all right, well, what do they do for you in regards of YouTube? Do they just do, third-party content ID matching where they only going to pay you 30% or they only going to pay you 30% of ad revenue, basically even less than that because it's 30% minus whatever percentage they take out, 9%. Do they have a MCN, a multi-channel network that you can become a member of where, it's going to boost your ad rates and you're going to be able to content ID your stuff yourself, and have some level of control over that, it's all of those things are things that you need to consider, as well as who they distribute to, like I said, when they pay out, whether there's a minimum balance, because some of them, they require you to have at least $10 before you can check out. Some of them $100 before you can check out. Some of them are like, all right, well, there's this new one that I'm probably gonna redo that video to include some other guys who were there, because I kind of feel like Reverb Nation fell off a cliff,
Exactly.
So it's like it's a new company, one that I use, and I got in early, so they changed they pricing, but Indigo Boom, that's their name.
Indigo Boom, is it?
Indigo Boom, they're a digital distributor.
Oh, cool! I'm gonna check them out definitely.
Yeah, they charge. When I signed up, it was $100 for unlimited distribution. Like you pay $100 one-time fee and you get the release music unlimited. But they changed it now. Now it's $100 annually for unlimited releases, $100 a year for annual releases. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, if you look at it and you say, okay, well, that's a lot of money, $100 annual releases, but it's like you got to look at it and say, well, how much music do you plan on releasing? How much music are you planning to actually sell? So it's like if you're going to be releasing multiple albums in a year, you look at it and you say, right, well, how much is it going to cost me to distribute this album on CDBaby or through 1RPM? And if it adds up to more than $100 a year, then you go with Indigo Boom, or if you want to, if you are releasing less than that, then you go with an individual digital distributor, somebody who you can just release one single joint for $30 or whatever have you, So it's all about a matter of knowing what you want, knowing about your rate of production, knowing about all of those types of things and making a decision based on those things,
Mm-hmm. Well, if I were to ask you one last question, do you think it's a good idea for an artist to wait before they have built up an audience before they join one of these sites? Is there really any point to signing up with these sites, these digital distribution sites, if you have no audience today? Is it a better idea to just build the audience first and then go, okay, I've got like an email list, I've got a lot of fans on Facebook, and I've a Twitter following and YouTube following. Now is the time, or should they start straight away to once they've done their research on these sites? Which would you think it's better to build first and then join, or is it better to join now and be on it now without an audience?
I think, man, you do your research, always do your research, and you do what makes sense for you to do. If you got the money, because it's like a lot of people, you know how folks are, man, where it's like they have money for certain things in their life, like drugs, for instance, like weed. People would be be like, yo, here's this thing for $10. I ain't got $10, man. But it's like, yo, but you just bought an ounce of weed. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yeah, man. But it's like people are like that. So it's like I said again, success is when opportunity meets preparedness. So you want to be prepared. You want to have your music in these places, because what happens is, right, a lot of times it's a way of even acquiring just little funds to do things like invest in Facebook ads. Because if you put up a song on SoundCloud or YouTube and you put it up for free download, right? The way it is now today, right, for mobile devices, it's a battle for space. People don't want to store stuff directly on their devices. So that's why people are using Spotify and Audio and these different things. And when they use these things and iTunes Match and all these different things, right, they sync their libraries to these platforms, and they use these platforms to stream your music. And if your music isn't in those platforms, then first off, they can't sync it. It'll sync it to something similar to it, which means that you're not going to get played, when they out and about, and second, you're not going to get paid for those streams. So it's like you might be in a situation where your music isn't like super popular, where you're not getting 100,000 streams a day or whatever, but you might be in a situation where you can make $100, a month from your streams, and it's like for an artist who's trying to make it, that $100 can go to things. That $100 can go to marketing and advertising. That can go to YouTube advertising a YouTube video. That can go to boosting a Facebook post. That can go to a Twitter campaign. That can go to different things, So you want to put yourself in a position where you're at least making something from what you're putting out there, rather than just throwing stuff out there and hoping for the best. Because a lot of times this stuff costs money to produce. It's not like it's just completely made for free. Even if you got a home studio, that stuff is eating up electric bill, your equipment costs money, all these different things, So you want to try to make sure that you get some type of return on your investment in what it is that you're doing,
That's an excellent answer, Shawn. Man, I'm super stoked that you came on the interview. It's actually been brilliant. We two of us could actually speak forever about this stuff. It's great. But I got to end the interview there. I hope anyone who's listened has learned some great stuff. Shawn has great music videos and YouTube videos online. Definitely check out his website, Payusnomind, and definitely if you just YouTube Payusnomind on YouTube, you'll find his channel. Shawn, if you'd like to just leave any kind of links or any way people can contact you, you've got a book coming out as well. It's out now. It's the PPC Fundamentals for Beginners. Maybe you'd like to just give a brief introduction about that before we end the show.
Yeah, that book is just basically an introduction to advertising online. All of these, pretty much once you learn the lingo, once you learn the basic terms and get an understanding of that, you can pretty much advertise anywhere. So if you understand, what an impression is, what a click-through rate is, what a conversion is, things like that. What's a cost per conversion, cost per acquisition, things like that. Once you know those terms, you can pretty much advertise anywhere, and you can pretty much gain a better understanding of how to effectively market your music online, because everything is built around that. Even though when you post to Facebook and post to Twitter, you're not advertising, it's still based on advertising fundamentals, because it's like when you put up a post, the people that your post reach, like the people that your tweet reach, those are impressions. Every time your tweet or your Facebook post appears in somebody's timeline, that's counted as an impression. When somebody clicks on it, that's a click. The rate of how many people clicked on it compared to how many impressions or how many people saw it, that's your click-through rate, things like that. You know, whether somebody bought or downloaded your song when they went to your site after they clicked on it, when they saw it and all that other stuff, you know, your conversion rate. Those things are very important to know and understand, because those things allow you to basically drill down and target the people who are most likely to respond to your music, and you get to know where you're wasting your time at, you know, rather than just kind of like taking a shot in the dark, you know. So that book is just basically about that, providing people with like a basic understanding of those fundamental elements.
And people can get your book on your website at Payusnomind.com, or they can get it on Kindle and Amazon. Okay? Yeah?
Yeah. They can get it at Payusnomind.info. You know, they go there, they can find it there. You know, Payusnomind.info.
Sorry about that. Yeah, don't worry about anyone with the links. That if anyone wants to get Shawn's book, all the links will be in my blog post on the show notes for on the Corporate Thief Beats blog. It'll be on the post, and links to Shawn's video, anything we've mentioned in this video. And I definitely urge people to subscribe to his channel, because he's going to continue giving great content. Shawn, it was great to have you on the discussion. I'm happy that we had a great interview. I hope people learned something, and we'll check you out again. Hopefully we can bring you back on the podcast again. Thanks, Shawn.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man.